Hi, Bob the Canadian here. As I continue to teach English online, I like to listen to all the English speakers around me to identify what makes English kind of strange sometimes. One of the things I've noticed is that English speakers like to exaggerate. When you exaggerate, it means you kind of don't tell the truth, or you add to something to make it sound bigger or worse than it actually was. A good example would be something like, I went to the store and there was 1 million people there and it took forever. I just exaggerated twice there. There probably wasn't 1 million people there, and it obviously didn't take forever. Anyways, in this English lesson, I'm going to go over 10 different ways that English speakers exaggerate when they talk, some common phrases we use when we talk about time or how hot it is outside, and other things as well. Well, hello and welcome to this English lesson where I'm going to teach you some common English phrases that English speakers use and phrases they use to exaggerate a situation. Before we get started though, if this is your first time here, don't forget to click that red subscribe button over there and give me a thumbs up if this video helps you learn a little bit more English. Well, I'm outside today. It's a summer day. It's hot out here. That would be the normal way to describe this day. But later today, it's going to go over 30 degrees. It's going to be very hot outside. And a common English expression or phrase to talk about a really hot day is to say, I'm melting. It's really hot outside. I'm melting. Melting like an ice cube would melt. That's kind of the thing that we're referring to. It's so hot outside that I'm melting. Now, of course, I'm exaggerating. People don't actually melt, but one of the first ways we exaggerate when talking is when we're talking about a hot day, and we'll say something like, I'm melting. Now, of course, sometimes it's the middle of winter and it's really cold outside, and you would say it's cold outside. But if you wanted to exaggerate, a common English phrase, and it's a bit of a funny one because it has the word but in it, is to say, I'm freezing my butt off. It's so cold outside, I'm freezing my butt off. If you don't know what your butt is, it's where your back joins your legs on the back of your body there. I'm not going to stand up and point to it. So we're definitely exaggerating. When you say I'm freezing my butt off, your butt isn't actually freezing, and it's not going to actually fall off. But it's definitely a way English speakers will exaggerate when talking about really cold weather. I'm freezing my butt off. So I want to move this picnic table, but I can't lift it. My muscles aren't big enough. This table is really heavy. In fact, if I was to describe how heavy it is, and if I wanted to exaggerate, I would say this table weighs a ton. Often when we're talking about things that are really, really heavy, we will say that they weigh a ton. They don't actually weigh a ton. Obviously, they don't weigh a ton. There's no way a picnic table could weigh a ton. But because I can't lift it and because I think it's heavy, that's how I would describe it. This picnic table weighs a ton. Boo! Ha! I think I've told this story a number of times. Once when I was a kid, I hid behind a tree, and when my sister walked by, I jumped out and said boo. And it was at night. It was in the dark. And my sister was scared. But if you want to exaggerate when you're talking about someone who's scared, you say they're scared stiff. My sister was scared stiff after I said boo. It scared her. She didn't, however, go like this. She didn't freeze, and she wasn't stiff as a board. She actually was just really, really mad at me. But if you want to describe someone in English as being really, really scared, you can exaggerate by saying that they were scared stiff. So I haven't eaten for a few hours, and now I'm hungry. I really want to eat because I'm hungry. That would be the normal way to describe that feeling in English. But as I've said, English speakers like to exaggerate, so you will often hear people say, I'm starving, to describe the fact that they are hungry. They'll say things like, let's eat lunch now, I'm starving. When's supper, Dad? I'm starving. So instead of saying something simple and normal like I'm hungry, English speakers like to exaggerate and they'll say, I'm starving. When you're thirsty though, you might say, I'm dying of thirst. When you've been outside working on a hot day and you just really want a drink of water, instead of saying, I'm thirsty, I'm going to go have a drink of water, you might say, I'm dying of thirst. I'm going to go have a drink of water. Now, of course, you're not actually dying. You're just exaggerating. It's kind of a silly way to say it in a sense. But often you'll hear an English speaker say that. They'll say, hey, let's stop working for a bit. Let's have a drink because I'm dying of thirst. So one of the joys of being human is that sometimes you need to wait. Maybe you need to wait in line at the grocery store. Maybe you need to wait in the waiting room at the doctor's office. Sometimes you need to wait. And then afterwards you might say to someone, it took a long time, or it took 10 minutes before I could check out at the grocery store. But of course, if you wanted to exaggerate, you would use the word forever. You would say, I went to the doctor's office and I waited forever in the waiting room. Or you might say, I went to the grocery store and I waited forever in line. Of course, you didn't actually wait forever. If you had waited forever, you would still be in that line because forever never actually ends. But if you wanted to express yourself and emphasize just how long you waited, you would say, I waited forever. So there are times in life when you really want to do something. Maybe you've worked for months on end and you really want to go on a holiday. You would say, I want to go on a holiday. Or if you wanted to exaggerate, you would say, I'm dying to go on a holiday. You're not actually dying, but for some reason, as English speakers, we like to use that word to talk about things we really want to do. I'm dying to go on a holiday. I'm dying to have a day off. It just means that you really, really want something. I'm dying to get this video done because it's really hot out here and I'm melting. So there, I've used two different phrases where I've exaggerated at the same time. When you describe someone who's old, you might say they're old. Maybe you use that phrase to describe me. You might say Bob the Canadian is old. But if you wanted to exaggerate a bit, you would say Bob the Canadian is as old as the hills. This is a phrase that, it's a bit of an older phrase. The phrase itself is old as the hills, I guess. But it's a phrase we use to describe someone who's really, really old. You might say, that guy's old as the hills, meaning that they're almost as old as the earth itself. You can use this to describe things as well. You could say, I need to buy a new car because my old car, it's as old as the hills. Basically meaning that it's really, really old. So when I woke up this morning, I realized I had a lot of things to do today. I could count the number of things and I could say I have 7 things to do today, or I have 14 things to do today. But in English, we like to exaggerate sometimes when we're talking about the number of things. So I could say I have 1,000,000 things to do today. I could even say I have a zillion things to do. By the way, million is a real number. Zillion is just a word we use to mean a lot of things. When I went to the grocery store the other day, there were 1,000,000 people in the store. I had to wait forever in line. There, I just used 2 exaggerations again. So sometimes when you're counting things, instead of being precise, we just exaggerate. And we'll just say, I have 1,000,000 things to do, or I have a zillion things to do. Lucky for me, I'm almost done all of the things I have to do today, so I don't have a zillion things to do anymore. Well, thank you so much for watching this English lesson where I hope you learned some common phrases that English speakers use when they want to exaggerate a little bit when they're talking about different things. Remember, if this is your first time here, don't forget to click that red subscribe button over there and give me a thumbs up if this video helped you learn just a little bit more English. And I'll see you next week with another English lesson. Bye.